Live.
Open the door, soy.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm here to collect your taxes. I'm the tax man.
I already paid my taxes this year.
Hey, but sir, you don't understand. There was a shootout down the street. A couple people died.
What does that have to do with me? I ain't never shoot nobody.
They used guns. You're a gun owner.
Yeah, I have a gun, but they didn't use my gun.
Well, it's a new policy here in San Jose. We have gun violence down the street. Emergency services got to come. It's very, very expensive. So now we're going to tax all the legal gun owners.
Listen, you obviously ain't from here.
It doesn't matter. You're paying up, man.
I ain't paying no taxes for no gun that I ain't owned.
Hey,
or that ain't my gun.
You own the guns. I'm going to all the gun owners in the neighborhood. They're all paying for it.
If you go to McDonald's, if a fat guy eats McDonald's and dies, I'm not paying taxes on his death because I ate McDonald's.
Hey, well, this is the way the policy works, man. I'm just a tax man.
It's
I
a
throw
stupid
taxes
policy.
everywhere.
It's a stupid policy. I'd like to talk to my lawyer. Judy, get in here. The tax man's here.
The tax man's here.
The most
And
confusing part of all this is why do you guys have New York accents in San Jose?
I just, that's how I was feeling today, so I went for that accent for you
mean
guys.
St. Joe's? That's where we live, St. Joe's,
Now, that whole scenario may seem very, very ridiculous to you, but guess what? In San Jose, that is the new policy. I'm going to show you this article here. This is from San Francisco Gate. Now, San Jose will make all gun owners in the city pay for costs of gun violence. Now, I don't know how anybody logically came to this conclusion, but here's the case here. So in San Jose, they're having a problem with gun violence. What they've now decided to do is that gun violence and these gunshot wounds are causing immense expenses when it comes to emergency services, EMTs showing up, medics showing up, getting them to the hospital, having them treated in the ER, in the ICU. So now they're deciding to tax legal gun owners in San Jose.
It makes no sense.
For the violence.
This is socialism at its finest. It is people who have nothing to do with the certain situation and then being taxed on it and saying, now you have to take accountability for it. Why do I have to pay for someone else's faults, someone else's wrongdoings? If someone else, it's like for free healthcare. If some drunk driver hits someone, hurts himself, and kills other people, and he has to have medical bills paid for, why do I have to pay for his medical bills? That doesn't make any sense to me. People should be responsible for themselves, and that's it. We are taxed too much in this country already for this to be even considered a thing, and I think that there's going to be a lot of gun groups and a lot of people, I'm sure, that are probably going to have lawsuits against this. I mean, this is your Second Amendment right, okay? You have the Second Amendment right. This isn't something like tobacco or alcohol where you don't have the right to have it. This is your firearm. This is, it's in the Constitution. But to tax something that is your constitutional right, even though you are not responsible for a crime, is ludicrous.
Right.
Ridiculous.
So, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Girl, the back of your head is ridiculous. If you guys watch Mad TV, you know where that's from. But yeah, so not only do you now have to have liability insurance on your firearm in San Jose, but you also have to pay this secondary form of taxes to cover the emergency services of those who are shot by guns, which makes no sense, especially considering that I'm going to go ahead and assume a lot of the gun violence is happening by people who do not legally own their firearms. I'm imagining that the majority of their gun violence is happening in relation to drugs and gang violence, and now law-abiding, legally gun-owning citizens are going to have to pay for this. Blows my mind. I don't like it.
Don't like it. No, but it's exactly the same that I said in the beginning of the little skit. It's like, okay, if someone goes to McDonald's, okay, and someone dies from eating McDonald's, that's not your fault, Amala. That's not my fault that someone went and got fat and ate McDonald's for every single meal and then died from it. I don't then have to pay taxes for that. That makes no sense. You shouldn't have to be responsible for this kind of stuff. It is just the state coming on and saying, everyone has to be so babied and be taken care of and has to be by other people's taxes. You also understand that this is going to hurt poor communities the most. You're going to have poor communities that have the most amount of gun violence getting taxed to then pay for this said gun violence. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's, again, punishing people for the acts of others who refuse to abide by the law. And this is happening time and time again, especially in relation to the Second Amendment. And people should not stand for this. There should be people showing up to their representatives' offices, sending letters, sending emails, strongly worded letters and strongly worded emails to their representatives, because it is absolutely unacceptable to be charged for the faults and the illegal activities of other people. The average legal gun owner in America is never going to commit a crime with that weapon. Yet now we are treating the citizens of San Jose as if they are criminals.
It's like concealed carry permit holders are some of the most behaved people in this city,
Right.
or in the country. People who have concealed carry permit holders don't commit many crimes with their firearms. It's like a very low number that they actually do. And so this only hurts the people who are safe gun owners. But the people who commit crimes illegally with illegally purchased guns, commit crimes illegally, this is non sequitur, you know what I mean? But commit crimes and then who buy guns illegally, these are the people who are going to continue to get away with this. Yeah.
And time again, people who are legal concealed carry gun owners have deterred crime. It's a major deterrent of crime. And
it's
now
500,000 to 3 million people every single year who deter crime when people use guns defensively every year. You know who did that study? It was the CDC, and it was Obama administration that found that out, and they didn't really publish those results because they didn't really like the outcome of that. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me at all
whatsoever.
Yeah.
So not only are now legal gun owners who are deterring crime and stopping crime in many, many cases, now you guys are paying for other people who want to commit crimes.
You shouldn't have to be responsible for other people's misdeeds that way.
No.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like you have illegal immigrants coming into this country, and then what are we doing? We're giving them free health care, they committed a crime, and we're paying for their, if they're a felon or they go to prison, then we're paying for their prison sentences, and among many other things. Why are we paying for this stuff? Why does the government keep getting bigger? It's because as the government gets bigger, you can't make it smaller. Imagine being a politician coming in and running on a platform where you are promising people things or you are promising people benefits, okay? And then people get accustomed to those benefits after you won. And then another guy comes in and says, I want to get rid of those benefits. I want to lower this, and I don't want people to be able to get these things for free. You think that person's going to have a very popular campaign? Of course not. They're not going to have a popular campaign at all. It is very hard, almost impossible, to shrink the size of government once it has been inflated. And this is the same thing with the San Jose thing. First of all, it's unconstitutional. And secondly, it is just increasing the government's scope and the government's power.
And we see this time and time again with things that are detrimental to our society. Again, Will mentions illegal immigration. You can look at the homelessness here in California. You can look at the drug problems here in California. You can look, obviously, at the gun violence problems that are happening nationwide. And instead of fixing the problems, fixing these things that are horrible within our daily lives and within our communities, we are accommodating them. It does not make any sense whatsoever to have law-abiding, tax-paying citizens covering the charges that come along with the gun violence that happens in their communities. It baffles me.
The state is the new God to people. People instead, as Christian morality has faded throughout the West in many respects, the state and the government has become the new God for people. But you do understand, I don't think many leftists understand this because they put so much faith in our government, that these are elected representatives who want power and money and influence over us, okay? That is why they get elected. There are some, of course, who have good intentions, but this is what happens when you're put into a position where you have power over other people. You know, a lot of Friedrich Nietzsche, the will to power, this is what people do. But that is what we have in our government. So when you see things like this, I don't understand how anyone can look at this and say, wow, this is a great idea. This is really going to start helping us, versus this is nefarious and it is only going to make people's lives worse in poor income communities.
Right. It's not a deterrent in any way. It doesn't solve the crime problem in any way. It just makes Americans foot the bill for criminals.
It's very hot in here.
It's very hot in this room. You guys might not be able, that probably is not communicated through our cameras.
No, I know we look hot, but this is temperature wise. It is, we don't have an AC in here.
We don't. We have a portable one, but if we turn it on, it will be very loud and you will not like us anymore.
So PragerU.com/donate if you want to help us get a AC.
We suddenly get like shipments of AC units.
Yeah, PragerU.com/contact. We have a P.O. box and you guys can send us an AC. We'd love that.
Or anything else you would like.
Yeah, ice cubes.
Wait, don't actually send us an air conditioning.
No, don't.
Okay,
don't
or dry ice or anything.
Yeah, Greg will be
anything
upset.
but.
No, but you can send us fan mail. I mean, people are sending us all sorts of stuff. We got this mug and a very nice letter.
We got a little thank you note from one of the teachers that we interviewed here on this podcast, which is so great.
Yeah, and you guys send me books and all sorts of great stuff. So if you want to send us something, PragerU.com/contact as our P.O. box, and we would love to get whatever you guys want to send us.
We love to hear from you guys.
Taylor asked, Taylor Lavie. I'm going to get that name right at some point. She's a regular listener.
Boy. Whoever, whatever, yeah, you know.
It's the struggle's real, you know, the gender ambiguous names.
Yeah.
I guess my parents were ahead of the times giving me.
Yes, because we have a boy Taylor.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm going to assume you're a woman, Taylor. This Taylor. And
okay, well, you didn't have to go there, but okay. No, but she asked how No Chipotle is going. Are you keeping it going now that Pride Month is over?
That's a good question. It's July 1st, right? Today's July 1st or July 2nd? Today's July 1st, and this has been my contemplation of the day. You know, I was reading Carl Jung and many other great philosophers of our time today and wondering what I should do, Voltaire among others, and trying to figure out what I do in this predicament. And I think I am going to stay off of Chipotle for now.
Woo!
I think I'm going to stay
Where's
off.
my applause button?
I've done it for a month, and I'm like, okay, just because they're no longer going to have these trans burritos, which is what they are. They are trans burritos, okay?
Yeah.
Just because they're not going to have those anymore.
Wait, explain what it is before you go on, because in case people didn't.
Trans is when you think you're a different.
What Chipotle did?
Oh, what Chipotle?
They didn't make trans burritos. They were drag queen burritos.
It's not a trans burrito. It's just a burrito identifying as what it was born as. Okay, but it's essentially what Chipotle did is they put out a new campaign that said if you buy one of these trans burritos, then we are going to be giving money to an organization called what was it?
There's a bunch of different organizations.
A bunch of different organizations, but one of the organizations that they donated to would help little kids transition, which is disgusting, horrible. And the other one was for GLAAD, which was an organization that helped silence detransitioning stories. And so I can't give my money to an organization that supports that. And I've been living the last month, and I've actually put on weight, which is good. I'm trying to put on weight. I think I can do it. I'm going to keep going. I don't need to have Chipotle. You know, it's like after you give up.
He's just been eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Yeah, I've just been eating sewage, and that's been good enough for me. No, but it's like after you give up something that you are addicted to. I wasn't addicted to Chipotle, okay? I could quit anytime I want.
That's questionable.
I'm no longer going to have Chipotle.
Well,
So,
good.
yeah.
I love that little update. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we gotta
Welcome,
keep
guys.
them accountable.
Yeah, please. I know. Amala watches my every move. She's been
Yes.
following me after work, making sure I don't
Hawkeyes.
splurge on a little quesadilla action.
Yep, that's what I do. And if he does, I will report it to you all. I have no shame in throwing Will underneath the bus.
Me eating a trans burrito.
The like burrito has like a little like drag queen dress on.
Yeah, no, it's a red, pink, and white. Or the blue, pink, and white colors on it.
Okay, I think we need to get back on
Anyways.
track here.
All right.
Our next segment, you've been hearing about the Olympian stories that we've been talking about recently on the stream, and we got to cover them with a former Olympian by the name of Anthony Watson, who is also a member of PragerFORCE, which we'll talk about during this interview. He is a skeleton racing Olympian, and he is a member of PragerFORCE. We got to talk to him about his initial reactions to these Olympian stories that have been coming out over the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to play that for you. Here we go. So I'm sure all of you guys have been hearing the crazy stories that are happening regarding the Olympics and a couple activist Olympic athletes that have been coming out recently. But today we are joined by one of our PragerFORCE members, Anthony Watson, who's actually a former Olympian, to talk about these issues. Anthony, could you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background as an Olympian?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Anthony Watson. I competed in the 2018 Winter Olympics and am currently training right now for the Winter Olympics of 2022 in Beijing and 2026 in Milan, Italy. So I do a sport that's called skeleton. It's when you lay on your stomach going head first about up to 85 miles per hour down the same ice track as the bobsleds and luge athletes go on. But our sport's actually the safest one. We're actually 4 inches off the ice. So if you fall, you don't really have much ground to cover. You tip over in a bobsled, you have 600 to 800 pounds of carbon fiber and steel that pin your neck to the ice. So, you know, it's a dream.
Oh my
Sounds
goodness.
so scary.
That sounds terrifying.
I'll stick to badminton.
Hey, have you ever been hit by a badminton? Those players literally, when it crosses the net, they can make it hit about 200 mph.
That little birdie, like I think
that little birdie can hit up to 200 plus.
Someone getting hit in the eye with one of those little birdies. I mean, you should wear protective gear when
That's
you play
horrible.
badminton.
I mean, the last thing I think of when I think of any Olympic sport is safe. So I'm good. I'll just pass on all of it. I'm not going to pick a preferred one. But Anthony, you've had your own sort of a cancel culture experience throughout your duration as being an athlete and an Olympian. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, like anybody that's experienced cancel culture, it was because I took a stand to actually be patriotic. So now I'm USA born, so I'm as American as they get, but I have dual citizenship to Jamaica. So I competed for Team USA back in 2012 to 2015, didn't make it to the Sochi games, and then didn't really like the politics of the team that were in there that favored athletes over the others. So I left on peaceful terms, and I have dual citizenship to Jamaica, so I competed and actually made Olympic history, but that's not really spoken of much, as the first ever Jamaican athlete to compete in the sport of skeleton on an Olympic level. But I got abused so bad by the Jamaicans, and that kind of debunked the whole white privilege nonsense, because I suffered a lot of the most traumatic abuse from other black people. And so I then, during the Olympics, got recruited by the Puerto Ricans because I'm half Hispanic. And so when everything was coming on with Trump and everything, my Instagram, my social media is very like politics neutral. You know, I'm somebody that has my beliefs, but, you know, I was never really like out there as like a MAGA and like all this other stuff like a lot of people are. I mean, like I am at heart, but I mean, like for the sake of my Olympic career, I kind of kept everything neutral. I went to SAS last year, December, and all I did was post a photo that said that I was there for a Turning Point event. And then, you know, it was kind of like a domino effect of a long chain of unfortunate events. Coming back, I caught COVID and was out for 2 weeks. And then while dealing with COVID, one by one, every single sponsor that I had started emailing me, reaching out to me saying, due to your dangerous ideologies, due to your radical beliefs, due to your extreme like thinking and your dangerous thought process and stuff, you know, we're dropping you. We're not going to work with you anymore. And all the money that we've given you that you've spent on stuff, we want that back. And so, but for professional reasons, I've kept them quiet, because in my personal experience, when you dog sponsors like that, especially when in the Olympics, when you don't get paid to do anything, we have to raise all the money ourselves through sponsorships, donations, or crowdfunding. And when you throw one sponsor under the bus, other sponsors get a little nervous and edgy that if things don't go your way, you're going to just complain and do the same thing. So it's been difficult to keep a cap on it, but there's going to be a storybook out someday, and it'll have all the dirty laundry in there.
I'm sure that it will, but it's great, man. It's awesome that despite the hate and despite the backlash, you're like, I'm not standing down. I'm going to continue to stand up for my beliefs no matter what. That's a very admirable thing, especially someone in your position who, just like you said, is taking these things all by donations or crowdfunding, things like that. Speaking of people who aren't proud to be Americans, people working or in the Olympics right now, you got this Gwen Berry chick coming on and saying that the national anthem disrespects black people and she doesn't want to look up to the flag when it's actually playing. What do you think about that? And what is the thought process, I guess, of a lot of the other athletes that you see in America as well?
Well, like, to her as an Olympian myself, she doesn't deserve anything on the Olympic stage. You know, when I was an Olympian and, you know, like, I would kill to be where she is right now. Not literally. I guess I can't really say that. But I would do anything to get to be able to be where she is, because there's a deeper sense of pride that comes when you aren't just representing yourself, but you speak for your nation. And to be honest, right now, all countries laugh at America. When I was a U.S. athlete, when Obama was in office, nobody respected Team USA. Nobody cared about Team USA. Nobody had anything good to say about the United States. And so when Donald Trump was in office, more athletes had respect. They didn't really care for Trump much, but they had more respect for the U.S. because of everything he was doing in their countries and how it affected everybody for the good. Now that Biden's in office, we're back to being trashed, and you see things like Russia and the Russian athletes and how they their statewide doping and stuff has now made athletes possible to do this. And like, it's basically all of this stuff is making America a laughing stock and more embarrassing to be a part of than it is actually proud. And for somebody to take the stand like that when you are representing your country, you're actually speaking for more people that can't speak for themselves. And as somebody who looks like I do and is an athlete myself and an Olympian, it's embarrassing for me to see something like that, because you're using that stage for the wrong reasons. You're using it more for your own image and what you want to do, because guaranteed, she placed third in U.S. trials. Now, I study athletes and I know the Olympics very well. Third place in American trials is roughly about 9th to like 15th place in the World Olympic stage, with all the athletes coming from Europe, all the other athletes coming from Asia. And if she's taking this stance now, even if she doesn't do well, then it's going to turn into, oh, well, they set me up at trials. Then it's going to be like, oh, because I'm black, I didn't get enough time to warm up before they called me to do my event, and they didn't want me to succeed, so they gave this person another advantage. It's just like there's too many unwritten variables that this could go. And to be honest, like, the Olympic stage doesn't need that. They don't deserve any of that, and that shouldn't be something that gets any attention, in my honest opinion.
And if she's saying that because I'm black it was saying if this does happen, because I'm black, that I didn't get enough time to warm up. It's like, you realize there are other countries in the world where there are black people, right? Are all of the people from Nigeria and Eritrea and all these other countries also not getting enough time to warm up? Or is it just the black people in America? It doesn't really make much sense.
No, I mean, like, you should see, like, there, like, a lot of people, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard, like, rumors of what the Olympic Village is like. It's true, it's a big party at sometimes, but overall, I mean, like, before everyone's events, it's like campus on finals week. Everyone is lasered, they're focused, everyone's trying to make sure that they get to bed on time, they're at training when they need to be before competition. And so what this has done, this whole narrative of being black and American, that's an American issue that now everyone's trying to use everywhere. That if you don't get what you want, if you don't get what you need, if you don't have the things done in the way that you want it to, it's only because that you're black. And you made a good point, Will. It's just like, look, there are black people everywhere else that are like outdoing you. So what's your excuse? That it's going to come down to a lot of unwritten things that just don't make sense.
Yeah, and we have actually one more story to talk about with you today. And it's really interesting to see the comparison of you not even really coming out as a conservative or posting anything that was politically polarizing, but just saying that you went to a conservative event and then subsequently being canceled. While we have athletes here, like this article that I'm going to show you, U.S. Olympic athlete Chelsea Wolfe threatened to burn flag on the podium. And this is a BMX freestyle rider who is also a trans woman competing in the Olympics, who says that her goal is to get up on the podium and to burn the United States flag. So something like this is allowed, yet you posting that you went to a conservative Turning Point USA event is somehow detrimental to the United States Olympics.
Well, the U.S. Olympic Committee has now done a thing where they try to give athletes the freedom to protest, and it's protected to a certain amount. But when you see things like that, that has no place in the Olympic spirit, because the whole point of being an Olympian is to make the world a better place through education, through sport, and by leadership and by example. And it's like everything that you see in the Olympic statement is doing everything with excellence. And so when I see things like that, those aren't athletes, those are people that just want a little spotlight and for themselves, and it's gaslit by all of this stuff, and it's fed by fear that if anyone says anything different, now if I were to say, and I publicly condemned that everywhere, and instead of it being like, oh, that's one athlete talking sports with another athlete, I was called a transphobic. And so because people don't want to be labeled certain things and have people target them and come after them, they're just like, oh, well, it is what it is, and they just turn a blind eye to it. It's just like, look, I had my life taken away. Like, my sponsors were covering my rent, they were covering my bills, they were covering everything I needed to so that I could, train full time and not have to worry about anything. When all of that got taken away, I was living in my car for about a month. Until I was able to get myself back home to like be with my family and to kind of get myself back on my feet again. Now I'm still training, and it's just like when I see things like that, people like that come from an entitled mentality where they want to be as extreme as possible, because to say anything otherwise, you can turn it into you're racist, you can turn it into you're homophobic, you're transphobic, and then the minute people hear those kinds of things, they think, well, my social media is going to get shut down, like I'm going to have everything taken away, so it's better for me to just not say anything and hope for the best. But it's just like, no. It's just like at this stage, nobody on social media is safe. Nobody in the world is safe, because the minute you have anything contradictory to popular opinion, like the left wants to come after you and try to punish you into silence. And it's just like, I feel more free now that I've been canceled, because now I can say whatever without the fear of having to be worried about losing any endorsements. So
go ahead, finish.
No, I was just saying, it's just like, look, Beijing is coming up. Nobody really knows how that's going to go down, because with everything with COVID and China and all this other stuff. But, I'm training every day so that I can stay ready, so that I don't have to get ready. But when I go back, and I will be back, I don't know when, but I want to go back and I want to win. I want to show people that it's just like, it's not about complaining. I'm not going there in the name of blackness. I'm not going there in the name of oppression. I'm going there for people that feel those things, to know that through hard work, discipline, and good choices, you can become anything you want to be. That's the beautiful thing about America, is that American flag stands for opportunity. And as long as you're willing to put the work in, you can become anything that you put the work in to become. Now, everyone's being told that if you complain loud enough, you scream long enough, and you tantrum loud enough, people will just give in to you. And that's working, but everyone has a cap. And nobody has the wallet to keep up with everybody's demands. And so now it's coming down to actually are you actually going to do something? But people like that BMX rider, people like that, Gwen Berry, it's like, they're like athletes like that, they come and go. There's been Olympics throughout history where you've had people that have been outspoken about certain things, and then when they get to the world stage, they choke. And it's actually like you have people celebrating that, and it's just like that's also not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to hope for the demise of people. You want to support. And it's just like the beautiful thing about the Olympics is that no matter what war was going on, what was happening in the world, for those 3 weeks that the Olympics were on, the world was at peace. Because everybody was always cheering for their countrymen. But now it's like, now that you brought politics into it, now the war is now reached, now the war's reached the Olympics, and you see it here. Also, don't forget about that trans athlete, that weightlifter, who was in there.
What is the Olympics nowadays? It's funny that you say for Chelsea Wolfe, it's like, I'm going to light the flag on fire. No, don't light the flag on fire. Oh, what are you, transphobic? It's like, what is that?
Exactly.
How does
that's literally what the argument became.
It doesn't. Yeah. So we have Chelsea Wolfe, we have Gwen Berry, and we have Laurel Hubbard, the weightlifter that you referenced. So the U.S. Olympics is basically, it's over. It's over.
I hope not. I love the Olympics. I love watching those tall people on the hurdles. Because it's something I could never do.
I'm one for I love
amazing.
the gymnasts in the Summer Olympics, and I love the figure skaters in the winter.
Yeah.
Oh, I come from track and field. Track and field was my first love, and soccer was my second. So it's just like that's what I really love watching. But I mean, like, what as a kid, from the young age of 6, when I saw all of those athletes walking in carrying the flags of the countries that they came from, that was something at the young age of 6 that I told my parents. That I said, look, I want to be there someday. I tried in track and field, had a very serious knee tear that kind of kept me from sprinting. But then when I did my research, found that bobsled and skeleton was the only Olympic sport at the time that took tryouts. So I was like, well, this looks like this is my in. And I stuck with it for the past 8 years. Was able to not only go to the Olympics, but make history making it. And now I'm hoping to go back and make history again as the first athlete to represent 2 small countries that have never been to an Olympics before. And I mean, like, it's hard, but it's not impossible. But I always think it's funny because, I always know that when people are doing these things for selfish reasons, they always eat themselves alive. Like Laurel Hubbard, that weightlifter, he lacerated a testicle in training. So I'm just like, I was like, testicles, women's weightlifting. Yeah. I was like, this is really just becoming a joke now. I'm like,
no, her testicles are really damaged. Okay, it's horrible for her. I can't believe it.
Well, Anthony, we're really excited to see what you go on to do. I think it's an amazing thing that you're going to be one of the first athletes, hopefully, to represent 2 small countries in the Olympics. And you are also, I want to point out to everybody watching, a member of PragerFORCE. So if you are a high schooler, a college student, or a young professional like Anthony Watson here, and you are conservative and like-minded, and you want to find people who share that sentiment with you, you can join PragerFORCE by going to PragerFORCE.com.
Yes, you can. Amala and I both started out in PragerFORCE.
Yep.
And now we're in the Olympics.
But Anthony, thank you so much for joining and talking to us. You give a really unique perspective to this. It's very rare that you get to talk to an Olympian, especially with all the issues happening right now. So thank you for being on our program.
No, thank you guys so much. This has honestly been a dream of mine. So, I mean, like, I'm happy to be a part of PragerFORCE, and anybody that's wanting to sign up, it's easy, quick, and simple. All you have to do is just be 3 things. You have to be someone who loves America, respects traditional values, and someone who's always willing to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Pretty simple.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Those are the 3 best things you could have said. We didn't pay him to say this too.
We did not compensate him.
We appreciate you, Anthony. Thanks so much for being on. We'll see you again
sometime. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys.
Okay. That was Anthony Watson, one of our fantastic PragerFORCE members. He's a cool guy.
What a great guy. Fantastic.
Oh my goodness. TikTok started playing.
Wow.
Is your blood already boiling just from hearing that little clip?
Well, it's my voice.
So we're just going to go straight into it now that I've already sort of given it away. A young man came out against Will and made a little TikTok rebuttal to an old rant that Will did on this stream about crony capitalism. So we want to play this for you, and Will's going to just light him up. Okay.
And I wouldn't normally respond to these kind of things because this is just some kid, but it got a lot of attention.
It did.
It got hundreds of thousands of views, lots of likes, lots of comments. And so I thought, if there's all these people, I'm not doing it just to fire back at this guy. I want to do it so that it's an educational moment for you guys so you can say, oh, here's what they're saying about my arguments. How can I rebuttal again?
Somebody's got to do it.
Because this clip in question that I'm talking about in here was a rebuttal to someone else.
Right.
So this guy's is a rebuttal to rebuttal. Now I'm rebutting.
How many layers deep can we go here? It's like
we're
Inception.
just rebuttaling rebuttals of rebuttals.
How deep is your rebut? Your rebuttal.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and refresh so we can watch this.
Capitalism is, you have a sandwich, I have $5. I give you my $5, you give me the sandwich. That is all capitalism is. You can explain it in literally 10 seconds. It's so simple a child can understand what capitalism is. Mutual transactions. Crony capitalism is when corporatists are coming in to that same sandwich scenario and saying, no, we are going to give this guy $1 off for these sandwiches and give him special privileges so that the other guy can't make sandwiches the way that he likes to anymore.
Yep.
That is cronyism, which is essentially socialism in a way, because it's basically the government and these corporations work together to create this giant mega bureaucracy.
First of all, you didn't even define capitalism, you defined a market.
I did define capitalism. That is what capitalism is. Just saying this. Don't let them get you on the terms, okay? People will say, I posted that video on Twitter and everything, and Prager, you did. And every leftist in the comments, instead of talking about my arguments, they just say, that is capitalism. It's like, did you even listen to what I said? Like, read Adam Smith.
He's a Bernie bro also.
He's
look at the little flag in the back.
Look at the little flag. Listen.
Capitalism is private ownership of the means of production, so basically when private individuals are able to own industry, factories, etc. Socialism is not when the government works with capitalists. Socialism is when the workers control...
Yes, it is. That is exactly what socialism is. Socialism is the government overtaking the means of production, okay? The government is then saying, here's how much you can charge people for things. Here's how this business is going to be ran. Here's how you can export the goods. Here's how you can import goods. The government is the one giving you the standards. Look at Venezuela. The government took over industry in that country. That is what socialism is. And it works for about a couple months, maybe even a couple years. But then after that, you run out of other people's money to spend.
The means of production. Crony capitalism is still capitalism. It's a product of the system because the government is just a tool of the corporation.
No, it is not. It is not. Because when you have... This is not true, okay? Capitalism, this is not the final means of capitalism, okay? Capitalism can have its flaws, but regardless of capitalism's flaws, there is no other system in the history of the world that has lifted people out of poverty other than capitalism. Tell me another system that has ever lifted people out of poverty other than capitalism. There is none. Look at Chile in the 1980s. Yeah, there's some screwed up stuff with Pol Pot. You can go into that. But look, they took Chile out of poverty with capitalism, with Milton Friedman's ideals of liberty and free market enterprise. This is what capitalism can do. But that's never happened with socialism. You will not find one example of where socialism has ever brought people out of poverty. It doesn't work. And in America right now, what we have is corporate socialism.
Right.
But people don't want to admit that. Listen, I am on this guy's side. I guarantee you that this guy and me would come together and we talk about corporate socialism. We would talk about these big businesses controlling us and saying, look, these big businesses have corporate interest or have interest within our own government, paying off government officials, bureaucracy, lobbying, making it so that we can't get anything done, and these politicians are swamp creatures and lobbyists forever. We would both agree on that.
Right.
But he is so stuck on the terms that I'm using and saying, oh, that's not real capital, that's not real socialism. It's like, that's not what I'm even talking about to you. I'm trying to tell you that you have corporations working with the government, and it is socialism, because that's what it is, working together to destroy the American populace and take advantage of us, and they want to talk about definitions of terms and semantics. It's like, why don't you actually try and work with the people who agree with you? There's more unity already between right-wing populism and left-wing populism to put a dent in these corporations and get something done.
But they don't want to find common ground with you. They don't want to find a point of agreement. And you made a very, very good point. That's the only thing that lifts people out of poverty. And most of the time, a free market economy can actually surpass regulations and legislation made by the government. Look at pre-Civil Rights America. From 1940 to 1960, the black poverty rate decreased by 40%. Even with all the Jim Crow laws, all the segregation happening in America, 40% the black poverty rate decreased under a free market economy.
No, capitalism is the only tool to lift people out of poverty. You can scream that till your eyes are blue, okay? And yes, there are flaws when people get a lot of money and they have the ability to take advantage of people, all right? I understand that capitalism is not a perfect system. There are some, free market libertarian types. This is why libertarians are super cringe. But those people think that, just leave the market open and have it just be whatever, the border government with a free market system that tries to get corruption out of its government, because it's either a constitutional monarchy or republic, to make this happen, But when you have these corporations working with the government and paying off politicians, that is corporate socialism. That is cronyism. Again, Argue with me about the semantics all you want. I don't really care. But let's just find a way that the left and the right can work together to actually put a dent in this and change it, because that's what really matters.
Right. I think you and this young man would probably find a lot of common ground. You just landed in two completely separate spots.
I don't know if me and this guy would find a lot of common ground.
Well, I think you
but
could.
With other people, I definitely do. With people on the left, I retweeted this leftist, you guys might have heard of her, Shoe on Head, who used to be a conservative, but she had some stuff about big pharma and insulin prices. You know, insulin it costs 10 times more to buy insulin in the U.S. than it does in other countries.
Oh, I know.
That is insane. That's insane. Why is it like that? Because of corporate socialism with the big pharma. That is exactly why it is like that. That's why it costs so much. People think that's just a result of capitalism. No, it's because they're paying off the politicians to get special privileges. You not understand that?
And it was being fixed. Now it is no longer being fixed as of this year.
No. No, it is not. It's getting worse.
It is getting worse. One last thing to talk about today, and that is a name that I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, Nikole Hannah-Jones. She is the author of the 1619 Project, an effort to establish the start of American history at 1619 when the first slave ships arrived in America, according to these people. But our PR team sent Nikole Hannah-Jones our Fly the Flag campaign, our toolkit, which if you guys are unfamiliar, it is a toolkit that we've been running since June 29th all the way through July 4th to just promote patriotism and the love for America here in this country, because it's something that is sorely lacking right now. So we sent Nikole Hannah-Jones our Fly the Flag toolkit, and she responded on Twitter by saying this PR firm has clearly done its research, meaning that she did not want to hear anything from Prager.
Those colors are not red, white, and blue.
Right.
You are showing that even something that is innocuous as posting an American flag for the country that you live in, you won't do it. Because it is from, first of all, PragerU, and second of all, because the American flag represents to people now something that is horrible, which is a terrible thing that the flag has been twisted into this evil charade of what it actually represents.
Right. And we want to combat that because it's something that is dying. Patriotism is dying in America, and we need you guys to keep it alive. So what we ask of you to do is to go to PragerU.com, go to our Fly the Flag toolkit, which hopefully Taylor's putting down in the chat for you.
Done.
Taylor's just ahead of his time. He's always one step ahead of us here. But go to that Fly the Flag toolkit, post a little American flag graphic that we've made at PragerU because we want to flood social media with that flag. You can also make a testimonial video about your experience as an American citizen and why you love this country. And you can also check out a bunch of supplementary videos that we've made about America, American tradition and values, our founding fathers, just to get educated to combat these people on the left who want nothing more than to see this country destroyed.
Yeah, you should be posting something patriotic this weekend. Even if it's not the PragerU Fly the Flag campaign because you forget or you are lazy, whatever, you should still post something patriotic and show that you care about this country and that you support it, even with its flaws, even with things that have gone wrong, even with a lot of the direction that this country is headed in. You can say that this country is the greatest country in the world, and not even if that, this country was founded as the greatest country in the world with the best values ever, okay? We were watching a video yesterday, Taylor and I, and it's like the American Constitution was the first constitution to really ever be created throughout the world, okay? And then lots of other countries adopted other kinds of constitutions, but the American Constitution was basically the first one that held up. And although these other constitutions in other parts of the world have been changed or redacted or whatever it might be, our Constitution is held strong because it is so good and the values in it are just impeccable. They're impeccable values. And we don't want to see that change, so show your support for America with the Fly the Flag campaign.
Yep, and show your support for this stream by liking, subscribing, touching that notification bell so you can get notified when we go live every day. You can also text LIVE, L-I-V-E, to 41776 to get a notification sent to your phone. Now, I know we've been having some technical difficulties with that, so I'll go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah, a little asterisk on that, but you will be getting them at some point very soon if you haven't got them yet.
So go ahead and sign up, and when we do get it up and running and it is working well, you will be notified when we go live.
Yes, you will.
Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for supporting. We'll be back.
Almost got to go get her hair done.
I got to go get my hair did.
And I'm going on the Blaze.
And Will's going on the Blaze, so just transfer over to the Blaze.
Yeah, Stu Does America if you guys want to watch it in about 15 minutes.
Oh, Will, someone asked when your Candace episode comes out.
Next Tuesday, my Candace episode comes out.
And we'll watch a clip on the stream, too.
Yeah, we'll watch it on the stream, for sure. And then when I do my drinking game with Michael Knowles, we'll watch that, too.
Heck yeah.
You can watch me get drunk. Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Peace.